Daniel Carter lived in New York City, but most days he felt invisible. He was 27, tall but thin, with tired eyes that looked older than his age. The city around him moved fast, subway trains screeching, people rushing, horns blaring. But inside Daniel, time felt stuck. He used to believe he would make it big in finance. He had studied hard, worked long hours, and dreamed of living in a nice apartment overlooking Manhattan. But the reality was cruel. His company had downsized, and Daniel was let go. That morning, he had walked out of the glass building carrying only a small box, some files, a photo frame, and his favorite coffee mug. It felt like he was walking away from his future. As if losing his job wasn't enough, his girlfriend of 3 years left him the same week. Samantha was kind but practical. She wanted security. "Daniel, I can't keep waiting for you to figure life out," she had said, tears in her eyes but voice steady. "I need stability." He wanted to fight for her, but deep down, he knew she had already chosen someone else. Someone who could give her the comfort he couldn't. Daniel sat on his apartment floor that night, staring at the walls. His heart felt like it had been split into two sharp pieces. For weeks, Daniel wandered through Central Park late at night. He liked watching the city lights in the distance. People passed by with laughter, holding hands, walking dogs. To Daniel, they looked like characters from another world. He asked himself again and again, why me? Why now? What did I do wrong? He wasn't just broke financially, he was broke inside. Some nights, he sat on a bench until the cold made his hands numb. He thought about calling his parents in upstate New York, but he didn't want to worry them. So, he carried his pain silently. Daniel's apartment became his prison. He stayed up all night scrolling on his phone, watching the success of others. Friends posting promotions, marriages, trips, smiles. Every photo felt like a reminder that he was falling behind. He ordered cheap takeout, let pizza boxes pile up, and avoided mirrors. Bills started arriving, and his savings got thinner. Some mornings he wondered if there was any point in getting out of bed. But something inside him, small and faint, refused to die. A voice whispered, "Hold on, Daniel. Just hold on." One cold evening, Daniel's landlord knocked on his door. "Rent's overdue again," the man said, not unkindly but firmly. "I can't let this keep going." Daniel promised he'd find a way, but when the door shut, reality hit him hard. He couldn't pay. Not this month. Maybe not the next. That night, Daniel walked the city streets aimlessly. The skyscrapers looked like giants mocking him. He stopped by a small bookstore, cafe, its warm yellow lights glowing against the dark street. People inside were reading, sipping coffee, laughing softly. Daniel pressed his forehead to the glass for a moment, wishing he could step inside and feel that kind of peace. But he kept walking. He felt he didn't belong anywhere. 2 weeks later, Daniel's cousin Mark from Austin, Texas called. "Why don't you come here for a while?" Mark said. "New York is killing you. Start fresh. You don't have to figure out everything now. Just breathe." Daniel hesitated. Leaving New York felt like giving up. But deep inside, he knew he couldn't stay much longer. He packed 2 bags, sold some old stuff for cash, and bought a one-way ticket. At the airport, as he waited for boarding, he whispered to himself, "Maybe this is the end. Or maybe it's a beginning." Daniel's life in New York had crumbled. Career gone, love lost, hope fading. But the journey was only starting. Pain had pushed him to a new road, one that would soon test him, shape him, and eventually give him power. The bus ride to Texas felt endless. Daniel leaned against the window, watching the fields roll by, his mind heavy with memories of the storm. He had left behind not only his home, but also the boy he used to be. When he finally arrived in Dallas, the city lights felt different, like they carried a new chance. Yet deep inside, he still carried the weight of loss. At a small diner, Daniel found a job washing dishes. It wasn't much, but it kept him busy. Night after night, as he scrubbed plates and listened to the clatter of forks, he whispered to himself, "I will not break. I will rise." One evening, while walking home, Daniel passed by a community center. Inside, he saw people gathered for a support group. For the first time in months, curiosity pulled him in. There, he met Emma, a kind 25-year-old woman who had her own story of pain. Her smile wasn't perfect. but it was real. She didn't pity Daniel. She listened. And Emma's words stayed with him. Pain doesn't mean the end, Daniel. Sometimes, it's the start of something bigger. That night, Daniel lay awake in his small rented room. For the first time, he believed healing might be possible. Weeks passed. Emma and Daniel became friends. They talked for hours at the coffee shop near the center, sharing their pasts and their hopes. Daniel noticed something strange. When he was with her, the storm inside his chest grew quiet. One rainy afternoon, Emma said, "Why don't you try helping others at the center? You know what it feels like to be lost. Maybe you can guide someone else." Daniel hesitated, but he agreed. At first, his voice trembled as he spoke to strangers about his story. But little by little, his words carried strength. The people listened. Some even thanked him afterward. Emma watched with quiet pride. Daniel didn't realize it yet, but he was already turning pain into power. That night, as he walked home, Daniel looked up at the Texas sky. The same stars that had watched him break were now watching him rebuild. And deep inside, he whispered a promise to himself, "I will not just survive, I will grow." Months turned into a year. Daniel was no longer just the boy who lost everything in a storm. He was now a man people looked up to at the Dallas Community Center. He spoke every week, sharing how pain could shape strength. People came with broken stories, and Daniel gave them hope. Yet, inside, he still wondered, was he truly healed, or just pretending to be strong for others? One evening, Emma found him sitting quietly after a meeting. "Why do you always carry the weight alone?" she asked gently. Daniel sighed. "Because I don't want anyone to see the cracks." Emma looked at him with steady eyes. "But Daniel, it's the cracks that let the light in." Her words struck him harder than any storm ever had. A few weeks later, the center organized a charity event to help families who lost homes in natural disasters. Daniel was invited to be the main speaker. The night of the event, he stood before a crowd of hundreds. His hands trembled at first, but when he looked out, he saw Emma smiling in the front row. Strength filled his chest. Daniel spoke with fire. "I lost my family, my home, my past. But in that loss I found something greater. I found resilience. Pain didn't destroy me. It built me. And if I can stand here today, so can you." The audience rose in applause, some with tears in their eyes. For the first time, Daniel felt free. Not from his pain, but from the chains of silence. After the event, Emma walked up to him and said softly, "You've finally stepped into who you were meant to be." Daniel smiled, a real smile, the kind he thought he'd never have again. That night, under the Texas sky, he whispered, "I turned my pain into power, and now I will help others do the same." It was no longer just about survival. It was about purpose.